candidates.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you all for letting me speak. Happy 4th of July.
Happy birthday!
You know, we have a lot to be grateful for and a lot to be thankful for living in this country with the freedom that we have and having the Constitution that we have. We owe the Founding Fathers a lot. But we also have a lot of big problems because of the government that we have. And let me ask you, how many of you have children? Right? I've got 4, and they're getting to that age where they're getting out of the house and they're going off to college. How many of you worry about your children? Isn't that kind of the most important thing to you? You worry about your kids all the time. You worry about them, you hope they make good decisions, that they find a passion in their life, that they have good relationships. But there's another reason that I worry about my children, and that's because our government has built up so much debt that a child born today already owes $150,000. You know, we have a government that has been irresponsible for my entire lifetime. How did we get here? Well, imagine that a distant relative passes away and you've inherited a business that you know nothing about how to run the business. And you find out the business is in bad shape. It's losing money every year. It's very inefficient. Your employees, very few of your employees have health care. Your retirement plan is bankrupt. So you decide, I don't know how to run this business. I'm going to go out and hire a company that will manage my business for you. And you do some research and you find out there's only 2 management companies available. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Oh no!
The Republican Party says, you know what, we're not going to worry so much about the retirement plan and the health insurance and that kind of stuff. We're going to make your business healthy. We're going to make it profitable. We're going to make it more efficient. Hire us and we'll make your business healthy. And then you can worry about the other stuff. So you say, that sounds good, I'll hire them. And you hire them for 4 or 6 or 8 years. And after 8 years, you realize you're losing money faster than you were before. And your business is even less efficient than it was before. And you say, this is terrible. I'm going to fire them and I'm going to hire the other company, the only other company that's out there, the Democratic Party. And they say, well, we're going to make your employees so happy. We're going to give them health insurance. We're going to fix the retirement plan. We're going to make them so happy and their morale is going to be so good that they're going to work harder for you and your business will become profitable and it'll take care of itself. So after 4 or 6 or 8 years of that, you realize fewer of your employees have health insurance. Your retirement plan is even more bankrupt than it was before, and you're still losing more money than you were before. So what do? You say, I think I'll go back and hire the Republican Party. And we've been doing this cycle for my entire life. Congress becomes under the control of the Republican Party and the president's Republican, and it gets worse. And we hire the Democrats, and it gets worse. So when are we going to stop this cycle? We need to stop. Why does this happen? Because we elect career politicians for 2 and 4 and 6 year terms, and they care about getting reelected more than they care about solving long-term problems. We need term limits. We need term limits. These people are not bad people, some of them. Some of them are not bad people. But a government run by people who operate on 2-year and 4-year cycles is by nature going to be irrational, selfish, and cowardly. That's what our government has been for my entire life. I've been worried about the national debt for 20 years, back when it was $2 trillion. Now it's $11 trillion, and they predict that it's going to double in the next 5 to 10 years. This is insane. Our children and our grandchildren are going to have to deal with this. So there are solutions. There are solutions. There's a lot of really smart people out there who know what to do, but we can't get our elected officials to implement them. There was one period of time where it wasn't completely insane. In the late 80s and the early 90s, people started paying attention to this. They passed something called the, let me get this right, the Budget Enforcement Act of 1990. And they instituted a cap on discretionary spending, and they instituted a pay-as-you-go plan for entitlement programs and taxes. And guess what? By the late 90s, we actually had a budget surplus for 1 year. It was a result of that act going into effect and building up steam. But in the mid-90s, Congress and the executive branch started inserting loopholes into that legislation. And now we have runaway spending. You know, we've doubled the deficit since the year 2000. So we need to hold our elected officials to go back to those days where we have strict, firm spending limits on Congress that they can't get out of. It's going to be a very difficult task to do. We also have huge social problems in this country because of insane government policies. Did you know that we just passed the threshold of 1% of our population is now in prison in this country? We have 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prison population. Yeah. Well, 3% of our population are in the legal system. They're either in prison, on parole, or on probation. And this, I blame most of this on the drug law policy of this country. People in this country spend $50 to $100 billion a year on illegal drugs. Do you know where most of that money goes to? The Taliban, terrorist organizations in Colombia, criminals in Mexico, because we've criminalized drugs. This is insane. This is insane. We criminalize substance abuse so that they're very expensive, and we funnel billions and billions and billions of dollars to terrorists overseas that attack us at home. So, in my opinion, we need drug law reform in this country to deal with this.
No.
That's my opinion.
You don't legalize people killing themselves with drugs. Yeah.
We can all agree to disagree.
You don't legalize pot, you're not going to reduce it, you're going to make it worse.
We can agree to disagree. And this brings me up to another point, which is, how do we change government? We have this gigantic two-party system with tons and tons of money in it. How do we change it? Why am I even here? My background for being here, my friend Mike Teleska, who's here, he's the chairman of the Independent Party in Waterbury, Connecticut. He's been fighting corruption there for years with mixed success at best. I don't know how many of you know about Waterbury politics. But in 2006, he approached me and he asked me to run for office. I was the Independent Party candidate for U.S. Senate in 2006, running against Joe Lieberman. We were refused petitions by the Secretary of State's office to collect signatures to get on the ballot. We have since defeated them on that issue, and we now have ballot status. But they did give Joe Lieberman petitions to get on the ballot. You may remember he lost the Democratic primary and then formed a third party called the Connecticut for Lieberman Party, collected signatures and got on the ballot in November and won the election. He never joined his own party. Since they weren't acknowledging that the Independent Party had a right to be on the ballot, we decided to take over his party. So I'm now the chairman of the Connecticut for Lieberman Party. We actually control the ballot line for U.S. Senate in 2010 against Chris Dodd. One of my points here is we can agree to disagree and agree on a lot of issues, but we need to fight the two-party system.
No.
Okay. Mike has taught me the way to do this. He has gotten people elected in Waterbury for the Independent Party, and he's gotten people elected in other towns in Connecticut for the Independent Party. Whether it's the Green Party or the Independent Party or the Libertarian Party or the Connecticut for Lieberman Party, support third-party politics, because people who run for third parties tend to be not corrupt. They're not career politicians. They're people who want to change the system. So what can we do? It's got to be on the grassroots level. Form a town committee in your town for whatever third party you want. Run people for office. Get them elected to the city council or the board of aldermen and start changing things at the grassroots level. And once we get people elected in enough towns in this state, then we've got a statewide movement and we can start fighting the two-party system. So thank you for listening. My name's John Mertens, and happy 4th of July.